Hello, everyone. Welcome to our awareness talks by ClimateXTurkey. In the fourth of our awareness talks, Philippe Singer, the co-founder of the Leaders for Climate Action, will be with us tonight and will discuss how organizations and the venture capital sector can make an impact on climate change by measuring, reducing, and offsetting the carbon footprint. Before we start, let me what ClimateXTurkey is about. ClimateXTurkey is an impact program coordinated by Turkish Entrepreneurship Foundation with the support of US Embassy, 212 Ventures, and Leaders for Climate Action, Impact Hub Istanbul, Hello Tomorrow Turkey, and IMECE. Within the scope of the project, we aim to raise awareness about climate crisis and support young people in their entrepreneurship journey. So today our guest is Philippe Singer. Hi, Philippe.
Hi, and first of all, thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to talk today to you and also share the learnings that we gathered in the last 2.5 years of trying to drive climate action in the digital area. So I brought a little presentation that I want to show you, and also I'm looking forward for some discussions afterwards. So let me share my screen in case you cannot see it yet.
Sure. Before we start, our audience can write their questions on the chat line, and we will facilitate a Q&A session after the talk. So I give the floor to you, Philippe. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, and I want to start to tell you a little bit about why did we start Leaders for Climate Action, and then afterwards basically share all the learnings of how we are driving action and transforming the digital industry. And kind of the last point is our big campaign, the Time for Climate Action campaign that we are doing on a yearly basis. So also happy to show you a little bit about what we are doing there. So why did we start Leaders for Climate Action? So basically 2.5 years ago, it was really an impulse that we looked at the digital industry, the tech industry, however you want to call it. And we were simply so disappointed that in regards of fighting the climate crisis, there was so much talking, but so little action. And instead, we had the feeling that a lot of startups, a lot of digital companies are saying there are some industries that are really bad, and we are not the worst ones in the room, so let us be slow as well and not care so much about the climate topic. And we as Leaders for Climate Action, we believe in the opposite. We believe us, and also including you as kind of young entrepreneurs coming up and really starting your career, we have to be the driving forces in this climate action topic. And we also believe that the digital industry has the potential to become the first industry that operates climate neutral or climate positive, and at the same time brings about growing and healthy organizations. And if we can be this first environment that achieves this, we can also kind of inspire other industries to do the same. So our big goal is to be the accelerator for change within our tech industry. And the way that we do it is by basically building a community of leaders. So most of the time founders, managing directors, partners, but also the sustainability people in our organizations, and really help them to drive their company into a more climate-friendly organization. And kind of just having this hypothesis and this goal is not really kind of doing the job, but there needs to be a practical kind of tactic behind it and strategy behind it, how we do it. And I just really honestly want to share with you all the learnings, because maybe there are some things that you can copy and you can take it to your day-to-day job and maybe use some of the things also to change your organization or the area that you are kind of active in. And one of the learning is we start with the decision maker. So normally what we do, and I think in the last 2.5 years, my team and also Yvonne, who is the co-founder of Leaders for Climate Action in Turkey, we talked to probably 15,000 different managing directors, partners, and other people who make a decision. And basically we approach them and invite them to be part of our community. And we tell them that we will help them, but we also need a clear commitment. And this clear commitment, we call it the Green Pledge. And the Green Pledge always starts with a personal pledge, because we believe before you change something in the organization, you should also think about yourself as a person. And so the really first thing in the onboarding is everyone, no matter if it's the founder of a company that is worth $10 billion or if it's a company that has only one employee, we don't care. But we want the people to measure, reduce, and compensate their carbon footprint. Whereas I have to say the compensation part at the end, it's not mandatory anymore. You can invest money into climate projects, but you don't have it because we believe that the reduction part is the most important thing. So just to make it a little bit more practical, it's about how often do you fly? Do you have a car? What kind of food do you eat? And that kind of gives you an estimate on your carbon footprint and on how you can reduce it. In the second step, the company pledge comes in. So after the leader is done, he or she chooses one person in the organization who's a climate officer. And this climate officer then gets onboarding in our community and also gets the job to measure, reduce, and compensate, if wanted, the carbon footprint of an organization. And for tech companies, that's not crazily complicated because we are often talking just about a scope that is more or less easy to understand. So we are really asking our organizations to do this within the first 6 months or so, because we really want to kind of keep the pressure high on them. And what we also learned is a lot of people are thinking about it only themselves or only inside of the organizations. But what is to get people together and really to shape this mindset of saying we can compete on all areas, but the climate areas, we should not compete, but we should collaborate. And therefore we create mastermind groups where people from all kinds of different organizations come together once a month and try to solve their problems together and also learn from the learnings that the others made. And that has been proven very successful in the last 6 months. So here I would say, in case you want to do something yourself, make sure to connect to people who have already done it or who are also interested in doing it. And we are trying to be the facilitator for this. So just a quick look at the numbers, where are we standing? So we have currently now about 1,600 people and companies in our platform. I think a bit more than 200, but I would need to check in Turkey, because also we have in Turkey one of our biggest chapters in Europe and also around the world, because there is also a lot going on, and we are very proud on how strongly also Turkish companies are starting to think about it. And therefore also to you, if you have any ideas what you could do in Turkey with us or whatsoever, please contact Yvonne, our co-founder in Turkey, or me, and we can see what we can do. And besides of this, we noticed that also big companies are interested. So we have about 20% of all European unicorns as part of our organization. And by kind of doing what we are doing, we reduced and also compensated about 1 million tons of carbon. And what is also important, because we see it as a trigger point, the employees of our companies, which are about 180,000 people, because these people are in our reach and they make a big difference, because they can also take action or kind of influence the organizations in a positive way. And here just a few names. I will not stay too long here, because I would like to talk about the content itself. And now I kind of explained to you how we were kind of pushing people in doing the first steps of taking action, measuring, reducing, and thinking about what else there is. But in terms of really wanting to solve this big problem, that is not enough. No? And therefore, what we are doing is we are following a strategy that is called really putting the focus in the sphere of influence. So what do I mean with sphere of influence? Basically, there's the sphere of control, which are the direct emissions. Change your energy provider, change your flying behavior, change your food behavior. And I call this doing the homework. It's something everyone should really think about in the first month. But then afterwards, we need to move to the sphere of influence. So do I maybe have a few million people who use my application that I could kind of target to take action? Do I maybe have 10,000 B2B contacts with whom I do certain business? Can I influence these people and engage them to take climate action? Do I maybe have thousands of employees who go home, who go traveling, who have a voice? Maybe I can educate them. Do I have investors who maybe also have a potential to be influenced to only invest in good technologies, or at least take all their money away from bad technologies? Do I maybe have a good potential because I know a lot of policymakers and I can ask them to do something? And that's kind of the spirit where we are really trying to get our companies involved, because we see the impact potential just being very, very big in this field. No? Therefore, my kind of advice or the learning that we have here is to say, do the small things, but do them quick and focus on the leverages on the big impact fields. And so I don't want to be too theoretical, so I brought a few examples of what we have been doing in Europe mostly, but also in Australia, in these different areas. And kind of the first community action in the sphere of influence was actually in the venture capital area. So basically, when we onboarded the first VCs, we directly noticed, okay, just reducing the flights is not enough. But what is special about a VC? And we understood that there is a huge impact field of really influencing the portfolio companies of a VC and really getting them into doing a better job in climate action. So we created something that we called the venture capital clause, or the sustainability venture capital clause, to make it extremely complicated in German, because we like to do things complicated. No, but this clause was actually, of course, written in English. It is now kind of used all around the globe. So it's a truly international community action. But what this clause does is basically, whenever you as a startup want to receive money and you go to a VC, the VC will tell you, I will invest into your company, but if you take my money, I want you to measure your carbon footprint, report it to the board on a yearly basis, and really make sure that from day one, you kind of create a culture where climate action is really in the focus. So really, we put a seed in every company that is created, and maybe in 1 or 2 years, it will be a very big company that is from day one already built in a very sustainable way. So that is how this clause was created. And when we noticed from 3 or 4 venture capital companies, hey, they are in, they like it, they are willing to do this, us as a non-profit, as a neutral organization, we basically went to hundreds of VCs and showed them the clause and said, hey, can you take it? Do you promise us to put it into your contracts? And the outcome was that most of the VCs were actually very open for it. So what we are seeing here as a learning is sometimes it just needs very practical and easy things to implement, and you will kind of see open doors in the climate field as long as it's feasible. And now it's amazing to see it's becoming kind of a global thing to use this clause. So we had just a VC from Japan telling us that they are using it now. And we are hoping that also not only they are signing the contracts, but they are also implementing the things. But for this, we are a little bit out of control because sometimes we don't know the portfolio companies that are implementing it. So another one is the sphere of control of creating industry alliances. And for this, I brought an example that we started a year ago, but are still kind of pushing and implementing, and that's our e-commerce guide. So in our community, we have small e-commerce companies, big e-commerce companies, service providers, B2B service providers, and many others. And we kind of brought everyone together and started to collect their knowledge and write an e-commerce guide that summarizes exactly what you as an e-commerce company can do to reduce your industry-specific carbon footprint. And that is also something that sometimes you don't know as a small company, as a big company, and all of a sudden you need to invest money and you need to get a consultancy or you need to get a team to do it. And therefore, really having a guide that is now 80 pages long and that really helps you to reduce your carbon footprint is extremely valuable. And we believe this is really the first thing in the e-commerce area, but we want to push this in all kinds of industries. So it becomes open knowledge for everyone to really think about and get the information about this. Innovation, I mean, you as entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, I think that is very important. And here we are basically supporting also for climate tech companies to be more successful. We do this a little bit on the side because most of our companies are normal digital companies or venture capital companies. But that is kind of also our unique edge, that whenever there are some climate companies, we can see how we can connect them to the big companies to maybe find first customers and really help them to be successful. But as I said, it's maybe 5% of our work. But in the future, we see a lot of potential in doing this. And now I'm basically coming to the Time for Climate Action campaign, on which I will spend a few minutes because it's a very big campaign, a bit complicated, and it is happening in exactly 2 months. So yeah, I'm excited to hear what you think about it. And it's also a campaign that can be used by anyone. So it's not only for companies, but the users actually and customers like you and me. So how did this campaign start? So a good 1 year, a good 1.5 years ago, we were talking to Spotify about how Spotify can take more climate action. And the outcome was to say, we need to build a campaign that reaches the end customers who are listening to Spotify or using any kinds of other services. So the idea for the campaign was born, and last year it was a huge success. We had more than 202 companies who were part of it. We reached about 24 million people. And the idea was very easy. And this year we want to make it 4 times bigger. I'm not sure if we will manage, but that's the goal. And the idea basically was to say, we need to build a website that simply allows you to change your energy provider, change the way that you eat, educate yourself about what you can do in your job to reduce the carbon footprint, maybe get in contact with people in politics and tell them your wishes, and really make it very easy in 5 minutes to take meaningful action as an end customer. And I will just quickly check where I have the best thing. And so basically we built this campaign page that looks a little bit like this. It's a web app, it's very easy to use, and you can really take a lot of action in a short amount of time. And what our companies did is they integrated it into their marketing channels and into their product. So Spotify, you can see it here in the middle part, and created a climate action hub where they embedded the website, and people could find this action site and could start to, while listening to audiobooks or music, could start to take action. But we also had organizations like Marley Spoon or BlaBlaCar, a food company and a transportation company, who said, within this week of Earth Day, we will only sell vegan food for 1 week to improve our product, or we will educate our drivers how they can drive more sustainable to kind of create less emissions. Ecosia, it's basically a Google that plants trees for every search. They decided to just get as much traffic as possible on our website. So that is roughly how people were participating, but in total there were just a lot of different actions, so I will not go into detail for now. And besides of this, we also had a lot of social media people. We had Universal Music as a main partner who helped us a little bit with musicians and an offline campaign. And this year there will be a lot of new things in terms of virality. So we are excited about it. And maybe also for you, in case you have a company that would like to potentially participate, it's fairly easy. We have different packages on how like inspiring you with different ideas of how you can take action. So it's very easy to implement. And I think maybe what could be interesting whenever we launch this campaign in April, it would be a big help to kind of spread it via your personal LinkedIn accounts or send it to friends, because basically every person who takes action here makes a difference. So very happy to, through whatever channel, kind of share it with you when the campaign is done. As discussed, it's on the 18th of April it will start, and on the 22nd of April, on the Earth Day, it will be kind of the peak of everything. And yeah, you will see if we are reaching this amount of people. And I hope kind of coming to an end that, of course, a lot of these ideas are very specific, but I think there's also truth really laying on it that can be adapted to all kinds of other industries, but also all kinds of other kind of life areas. So I would be delighted if you take anything and use it in your life, or get other people involved, change something in the job that you work, because we really need to kind of see the climate crisis as our common problem that we can solve. And yeah, in Turkey, as discussed, I'm extremely proud and happy to see what an amazing job Yvonne, our co-founder, is doing there. So also, if you want to somehow get involved, I'm sure she will be happy to see how you can support in the Turkish chapter. And with this, I'm looking forward to discuss a few things with you and get your feedback on the initiative and all the things that I was talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philippe. It was a very enjoyable and pleasant speech. I'm sure everyone has learned a lot. As Girvak, we will be also taking part in Earth Day campaign, and we are so excited about that.
Nice.
I guess there is no question on the chat line, but I have a question for you. Thank you, by the way. It's a very good speech, and I myself has learned so much. What do you suggest entrepreneur to take steps for reducing their carbon footprint? What would be the very first step of an organization to do that?
Mm-hmm. So the very first step, I would say, is to measure your carbon footprint. So kind of type in from the last year, how many flights did you have, what kind of energy do you have, and all of these information. And whenever you understand your carbon footprint, look into how to reduce it. And for digital companies, it's basically always the four same things. So you need to check, where am I hosting my data? Is it a good hosting provider, or is it a bad hosting provider? Do I have a good energy provider, or do I have a bad energy provider? For example, is it brown coal that is used for this, or is it wind energy? And there's a big impact field that can be changed very easily, actually, without a huge amount of costs, at least from the prices here in Central Europe. I'm not exactly sure how it is in Turkey, but maybe it is just the same. And then we have the area of flying less. For a consulting company that flies around the world, it's a big impact field. You can change maybe to more video Zoom calls. Anyways, we are doing it now as a nice side effect, but that is a good field. And the other one is commuting. Do your employees go to work with a car, or are there any other ways? And normally, by really making sure that these fields are improved, that really gives you a big first step in order to get your operations in a better way. And then it gets a bit more complicated. So if you are an organization that has a supply chain that produces certain things, you really need to either build up the knowledge or get a consultancy in to see how you can kind of improve it. And often 80–90% of the emission lies in this supply chain area. And if you don't have this, or if you want to do more, I really recommend to think about the sphere of influence. Think about what makes your business unique in terms of people you can reach or actions you can trigger, and really try to find a way to do this. No matter if it's the B2C area, B2B area, politics area, whatever you think is really right for
you. Thank you so much, Philippe, again. I guess there will be no questions about your presentation. So thank you, Philippe.
Thank you very
it's
much.
Wonderful to see you, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And see you soon. Bye-bye.
See you soon. Bye.
Thank you for everyone for joining us tonight. See you our next awareness talk. Good night.